Please like this video. It will really help this story reach as many people as possible. Thank you so much for your support. Rain came down in sheets that night, the kind that makes downtown Austin look like a watercolor. I shook off my jacket in the hall, kicked the door shut with my boot, and stopped cold. On my couch, under Nora's gray throw, sat my ex-wife, Sabrina. She'd been gone a year, emptied our old account, packed her suitcase, changed her number like a magician. And there she was, feet tucked up, remote near her hand like she'd just paused a show. She smiled without moving her eyes. "Miss me, honey?" "No." I hung the jacket, tossed my keys in the bowl, and looked straight at her. "Leave. I'm waiting for my wife." She stretched, letting the blanket slip like it was hers. "The gray is mature. You always wanted things sterile." I stepped to the bookshelf, slid the wedding photo of Nora and me a half-inch further back, and I didn't blink. "Doors behind you. You don't seem curious how I got in." She patted the cushion. "Same lock. Same key. Same Michael. Not the same rules." She got up and drifted to our photo, cocked her head. "She looks normal. Does she cook? Or is it all salads and spreadsheets?" "You're done." I took the remote and put it on the TV stand. "This is my home. You're trespassing. Walk, before I call someone to walk you." She laughed, too loud for a small room. "You're serious? After everything? You won't even talk 10 minutes. I'm not a bench you circle back to when your show gets boring." I opened the door and held it. "Last chance, Sabrina." Her eyes flickered, taking inventory, framed diplomas, tool bag by the hall, Nora's plants. She tried one more time. "You always were dramatic." Clock's ticking. She slid past me, perfume thin and familiar, and paused at the threshold. "Tell your wife?" I warmed the couch for her. I waited until the elevator swallowed her. Then I locked up, checked the windows, and set my phone on the counter. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have bought stock in deadbolts. I didn't wait until next week. I didn't wait until tomorrow afternoon. I called a locksmith at 7 a.m., and by 9, every cylinder in that apartment, plus the mailbox, was new. The old key Sabrina had kept like a souvenir was now scrap metal. I texted Nora a photo of the fresh brass and a simple line: "All locks replaced. We're good." Nora's reply came fast. "That's you, fix first. You okay?" "Yes. Not up for a round two." We met in the galley kitchen before work. She was bundled in a sweater, hair up, mug at her lips. Nora is steady. She likes checklists and walks around Lady Bird Lake, and she doesn't dramatize a weather report, let alone a marriage. "She really came in here?" she asked. "Let herself in. Used the old key." I poured coffee, slid her the first cup, commented on your throw like she bought it. Nora set down the mug. "You want me to stay home today? I want you to go live your day." I took out a small trash bag and, with a pair of kitchen tongs, picked up the blanket and the remote. "I'll wash these. It's not about germs. It's about pushing back." Nora watched me as I tied the bag. "That was the first and last time." "First, sure," I said. "Last is up to me." She walked over, touched my arm. "I trust you." "I know." I kissed the top of her head. "Go. I'll be fine." The apartment manager stopped by to note the key changes. I signed a form and kept a copy. Paper trails matter. When I left for the office, I took a different route on purpose. Not because I was scared. I just wasn't going to be predictable for someone who'd proven she liked exploiting patterns. 3 days later, the envelope appeared like a bad punchline. County letterhead, heavy paper. Nora handed it to me after work. "Official," she said. Everything official is either taxes or someone deciding they're owed. I slid it open with my thumb and read. It was a claim. Sabrina. Property, share of personal items, alleged contributions. The whole thing written as if the last year hadn't happened, as if the default dissolution the judge signed after her no-shows was a suggestion, not a decision. Nora leaned against the counter. "What does that mean?" "It means she wants a negotiation. She's betting I'll throw money at it to make it go away." I put the letter down. She didn't come back for nostalgia. She came to test the door and the account. "You could let Daniel handle it," Nora said. "You don't need to speak to her." "That's the plan." I took a photo of the letter, sent it to Daniel Ortiz, the attorney who'd filed the paperwork last year when Sabrina ghosted the process. Then I called him. "Michael," he said, voice brisk. "I see the PDF. Same petitioner. This is an attempt to reopen a closed file." "Can she?" "Not on those facts," he said. She didn't appear. Decree stands. We'll file a response reminding the court it's settled. You might have to show up once. Keep all communications through me. No side conversations. Understood. What changed? He asked. She used an old key to walk into my living room. I said. That's what changed. He exhaled a dry little laugh. We'll put that in a footnote. At the office, I was soldering a connector when Wade rolled over on his chair. Wade is the guy who orders pepperoni every Thursday and pretends it's health food because there's tomato sauce. You look like someone rerouted your weekend, he said. Someone tried, I answered, flipping my iron off. Sabrina appeared, then filed a claim. Wade whistled. Ghost of projects past. You good? Fine. Fine like a normal person or fine like you with a mountain behind your back? Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the story. Fine like I changed every lock on earth. I picked up the PCB and checked the light. And I'm not negotiating my home. He nodded. You ever think you pick women like you pick circuit boards? They work beautifully in the demo, and then you realize they were never meant for production. I gave him a look. I'm married to a production-grade human. He grinned. Keep it that way. The hearing landed on a Tuesday morning. Small courtroom, low ceiling, judge who looked like he'd seen every stunt twice. Judge Keller. I wore the same navy jacket I'd worn when I signed the closing papers for the apartment, because I like a little symmetry. Sabrina sat at the petitioner's table. Her hair was straighter than I remembered, makeup heavier, eyes quick. She didn't look at me when I walked in. She looked at the clerk, at the bench, at the space where a camera might be if this was a show. Daniel took a seat beside me, slid a copy of the decree my way. Short and clean, he murmured. When our case was called, Daniel stood. Your Honor, the prior dissolution was final due to repeated non-appearance. We asked the court to maintain the status of property as previously ordered. Sabrina tried to speak, and the judge raised a hand. Ma'am, you'll have your turn. She did speak, eventually. It was a cascade of I contributed, and I was misled, and I didn't have a chance to be heard. Daniel kept his hands folded and waited. Judge Keller looked over his glasses. Ms. Morales, you were noticed. You did not appear. The decree is final. The respondent retains the property assigned. We're done here. Sabrina blinked. You can't just. Ma'am, the judge said, not loud, not soft. We're done. She glanced around as if there was a trapdoor she'd missed. When the bailiffs approached to usher her out, she jerked her arm away and then surrendered it, muttering. She still didn't look at me. In the hallway, she stood by the water fountain pretending to read a poster. Daniel shook my hand. That's that. Good, I said. Expect noise, he added. You already managed the locks. Keep documenting. I nodded and headed for the elevator. Sabrina stepped into my path, eyes shiny. So that's it, she said. You get to keep everything? Everything I was assigned, I answered. She dropped her gaze, softened her voice the way she used to before asking for something big. I'm in a hole. I'm not pretending. My car is on a lot. I can't get into my place. I made mistakes, but I'm still. She caught herself. I just need a couch for a week. 10 days. I'll be invisible. No, I said. You won't even talk to me like a human? She touched her chest. I'm not your enemy. You showed up in my living room uninvited. Then you tried a back door in a building you already left. I pressed the elevator button. You're not my anything. She swallowed. This is who you are now. This is who I am when people confuse me with an ATM. Her lips tightened. You always had a way of making me feel small. You're doing that to yourself. The elevator chimed. I stepped in. She didn't follow. Her eyes were calculating even through the glass of tears. I knew that look. It wasn't grief. It was inventory. That night, rain again. Of course. A knock at 1 a.m. Not timid, not frantic. A rhythm that says, I've decided you're awake. Nora stirred. Who is it? Stay here, I said, already up. I checked the peephole. Sabrina, hair wet, jacket clinging. She hugged herself, looked straight into the lens like she felt me watching. 10 minutes, she said through the door. Please. No. I have nowhere. I'm not being dramatic, Michael. I messed up. I'll sleep on the floor. I just need a warm room. Nora came to the hall in a robe, quiet. She looked at me, then at the door. I cracked the door with the chain on. There are shelters, I said. Right, Sabrina said, voice breaking in all the practice places. You going to list addresses to your ex-wife in the rain? That's who you are now. Nora touched my elbow and kept her voice low. Don't let her in, she said. But don't harden your heart. That's not you. I nodded once. I closed the door long enough to grab my checkbook from the drawer by the fridge. When I came back, I opened to the chain and slid a single check through the gap. 10,000. It wasn't a welcome mat. It was a receipt. Sabrina looked at the number and then at me. What is this? Non-recurring, I said. Final. Don't come back. She smiled oddly. So you do have a heart? No. I have a schedule. I shut the door, slid the chain, and stood there listening to footsteps retreat down the hall. Nora leaned against the wall, studying me. That was generous, she said. That was faster than 100 conversations, I replied. One gesture, no thread. Nora shook her head with a small, pained smile. I married a man who does math on messes. It's my best trick. I thought the check would end the chapter. I should have known better. When someone tests a door and it opens even an inch, they don't thank you. They wedge a shoulder in. 2 evenings later, we met friends at a bistro on West 6th. The place was cramped and loud in a way that says it's popular on purpose. Nora wore a blue dress that made her look like she had a lighting team. Our friends, Marcy, who teaches 3rd grade, and her husband, Ron, who works construction and tells jokes in a slow drawl, were already there. 2 lovebirds, Ron said, half standing to clap me on the shoulder. Thought you'd bail, Michael. On wine? Never, I said. We ordered appetizers, caught up, and the room hummed. I was starting to let my shoulders drop when a server approached with a bottle. Not our server. Another. She looked nervous. Someone sent this over, she said. Said congratulations. On what? Marcy asked. The server shifted. Being able to forgive, she said, then tried to vanish. I turned. Sabrina stood near the bar, hair perfect, a glass in her hand. She raised it like we were across a wedding lawn. Nora's jaw set. Marcy whispered, Is that? Yes, I said. I stood. Stay here. I walked over and kept it tight. You're done, I told Sabrina. She tilted her head, smiling like a hostess. Relax. I'm making a gesture. You like gestures. You stalked us to a restaurant. Austin isn't big, she said. Plus, your new wife posts dinner photos like a menu planner. I guessed a Thursday. Look at me, I was right. I took a breath through my nose. Leave. She glanced past me, eyes landing on Nora. She's pretty in a simple way. I see the appeal. Don't talk about her. 10,000, she said, voice suddenly louder. 10,000 is what my life is worth to you. Turn it down, I told her. She took her glass and, like a magic trick done mean, stumbled 2 steps and accidentally sloshed a wave of red straight onto Nora's dress. The table went silent. Red dripped down blue. Nora didn't scream. She stood, dabbed at the fabric with her napkin, and kept her face blank. Marcy gasped. Ron's chair scraped. I stepped between them. We're leaving, I said to Nora, and I put cash on the table, more than needed, because I wasn't going to have a conversation about a bill while my wife wore someone's statement on her clothes. Sabrina laughed. 10,000 is a tip now. Enjoy the room for as long as it tolerates you, I said, and walked Nora out with my hand at the small of her back. I didn't look back. On the sidewalk, Nora breathed evenly, angry and composed, which is more threatening than a shout. I'll get it out, she said. It's just a dress. Not the point, I said. You okay? I'm fine, she answered. But I hate games. Me too, I said. So I'm going to end it. The next morning I sat in Daniel Ortiz's office, a 9th-floor box with certificates and a window that grabbed the river. He listened, hands steepled. She did it at your table, he asked. At my wife, I said, in a room with 40 witnesses, one of whom recorded everything because that's the age we live in. Daniel nodded. Good. Witnesses help. We'll draft for a protective order. No contact, no approach. I'll need statements from Ron and Marcy, and the manager from the bistro if he'll sign. He typed while he spoke, efficient like a machinist. This is exactly why you don't give second access. They think kindness is a lever. I gave cash to avoid exactly this, I said. It won't happen again. It won't, he said. Once she's served, if she tries anything, call. Do not engage. Do not warn. I don't warn twice. He filed the papers. By that evening, A process server knocked on a door that wasn't mine. Sabrina accepted the envelope with the look of someone tasting sour fruit. She texted Daniel's office from a new number that she respected the boundaries and would move on. It read like an apology typed with one eye on a future workaround. Nora and I had a quiet week. We cooked at home. I repaired a wobbly dining chair because it felt good to make something stable with my hands. Wade stopped by my cube and raised his eyebrows in question. I gave him a thumbs up. "You win?" he asked. I stopped playing. "Better," he said. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the story. 2 days later, I got a voicemail I didn't listen to. The transcript showed enough. "Please talk to me. I'll be gone after this. I have news you need." I forwarded it to Daniel and deleted it. That was the first illusion of change. Warm tone after a consequence. I didn't bite. Nora saw me arch an eyebrow at my phone. "Problem? Not for me," I said. Late that Friday, at 10:30, a knock. I muted the TV and walked to the door. Chain on. Always chain. Sabrina stood there again, hair damp from the humidity, eyes rimmed with smudged makeup that might have been from crying or might have been applied that way. "Don't hang up," she said, as if we were on a call. "Just talk to me 10 minutes. "You're restricted from being here," I replied. "I know," she said. "I know." I panicked. "I won't come in. Just listen. Please." Nora came into the hall, watched silently. I kept the chain in place and didn't raise my voice. "This isn't theater," I told Sabrina. "This is a legal boundary." "You gave me money," she said, tears starting their practice track. "That means you know I mattered. You can't go cold like I'm garbage." "I gave you money because I don't barter my peace," I said. 10 minutes, she begged, pressing her palm flat against the door as if that would melt the wood. "I need you to hear one thing. That's it. I'll go. I'm not your last option." "You are," she said, eyes flaring like she thought she'd found the magic word. "See? That's the truth. I don't have anyone else. That's not my job anymore," I told her. She slid down a fraction, not a collapse, just a calculated fold. "You used to understand me. You used to rescue me. I used to be married to you," I answered. "We closed that file." "Please," she whispered, "don't call anyone. Just don't call." I took my phone out of my pocket. Sabrina saw the move and shook her head, small, pleading. "Don't," she said. "Michael." I tapped 3 digits and put the phone on speaker because I wanted the room to hear what side I was on. The dispatcher answered with a calm voice and a script I was grateful someone had memorized. "This is Michael Reynolds," I said. "A woman under a restraining order is at my door and refusing to leave." Sabrina's face changed, shock, then anger, then something empty. She backed up half a step, palms up. "You don't have to. This is me not negotiating," I said. The dispatcher asked me to confirm the address. I did. Nora put her hand on my forearm once. Support, not a question. Sabrina stood there trembling like she thought shaking would make me pull the door open out of pity. I didn't. "Sir, officers are on the way," the dispatcher said. "Thank you," I replied. I ended the call, set the phone on the console table, and waited. Sabrina tried one more play. "You're actually going to let them? What if I lose my job over this? You chose this." "This is cruelty," she said. "No," I said. "This is a consequence." When the knock came, louder and authoritative, I unhooked the chain and opened the door a foot. "Evening," an officer said, hand near his belt but not on it. "We got a call." I gestured with my chin. "She's violating a protective order." Sabrina's voice went high. "It's not like that. I just needed to talk," and he. "Ma'am," the officer cut in. "Do you have ID?" She fumbled for a wallet. The second officer glanced at me. "You okay, sir?" "I'm good," I said. "She needs to leave." The first officer read something off the tablet, then looked at Sabrina. "You've been served with an order. You can't be here. You're coming with us." Sabrina stared at me like she still believed I might switch roles and apologize. She waited for my face to soften. It didn't. The officers guided her down the hall. The elevator doors closed on her last look of disbelief, like she'd never expected the curtain to drop. I shut the door, locked it, and listened to the silence that follows decision. Nora let out a long breath and leaned her shoulder into mine. "You okay?" she asked. "Better than okay," I said. "I'm done." She nodded. Good. I didn't sleep much. Not because I was rattled, because my brain finally had space to do planning instead of firefighting. I sent Daniel a message the next morning summarizing the event, date, and time stamped. By noon, he replied that the report was logged and the order stood reinforced. That was it. Not drama. Just systems working how they're supposed to when you respect them. The next week, I did 3 things that had been on my list for a year. I met with a realtor and we found a small place just south of Barton Creek. 1 story, a little yard, a garage big enough for my tools. I swapped my parking space downtown for quiet. I added cameras and a doorbell that records. Not because I live scared, but because building strong doors is cheaper than living with weak ones. I took Nora out to the trail the first Saturday morning we had new keys. We did our loop without talking much, the way couples who trust each other walk, comfortably, with a shared pace. After, we ate breakfast tacos on the tailgate of my old truck while the sun burned through the morning haze. You seem lighter, Nora said. I cut a rope, I answered. Turns out it wasn't attached to anything except my patience. She smiled. You handled it the only way it could be handled. Thanks for not asking me to be softer, I said. I know who I married, she said. And softness didn't fix her. Boundaries did. At work, I shifted my hours a bit. Came in earlier, left earlier. New routine. Wade spotted the difference immediately. Look at you, he said, rolling to my desk. You look like a man who stopped subsidizing chaos. I stopped giving out coupons, I said. Your wife's dress get cleaned? He asked. Yeah, I said and smiled. Blue again. We toasted with paper cups of office coffee like idiots, and I didn't care. It felt like normal. I heard about Sabrina 2 months later, not from her, not from her friends. From a property manager who called Daniel to ask for a character reference. She'd put his number down on a rental application as if he'd vouch for her. He didn't. He wasn't rude. He's a professional. He said precisely what was accurate. She had a protective order against contacting me. She wasn't placed. That's not vengeance. That's cause and effect. I also heard she sold the car I'd helped retrieve and burned the cash in a week of nothing special. Not my mystery to solve. Not my weight to carry. We moved into our new place on a Tuesday because weekdays are cheaper for movers and less crowded in elevators. Nora picked out a sturdy table. I put it together without instructions because that's one of my few party tricks. We hosted friends. Marcy brought deviled eggs. Ron brought a cooler and told the same joke 3 times, and we laughed harder each time, because living well is repetition that feels safe. One night on the back patio, my neighbor, Angela, mid-40s, tough as boot leather with a gardener's tan, leaned on the fence and nodded at my grill. You're the new guy who doesn't waste words, she said. I like that. Words are expensive, I said. Not if you pick the cheap ones, she replied, and smirked. You and your wife seem solid. We are. Good, she said. This cul-de-sac needs more of that. Nora and I took a weekend trip out to the hill country once work calmed down. We rode with the windows down, no playlist, just road noise. She put her feet on the dashboard and read something about gardens. I mapped a few design sketches for a side project in my notebook. It looked suspiciously like a new life. Quiet, deliberate, not tentative. Sometimes I think about the night Sabrina pressed her palm to my door like she could push through it with emotion. It doesn't fill me with satisfaction. It fills me with clarity. You teach people how to treat you. If you teach them you're a turnstile, they'll walk through every time. If you teach them you have a door with a lock and a spine behind it, they either knock with respect or find another building. The last time Sabrina's name came up in conversation, Nora asked if I had any regrets. We were washing dishes, easy rhythm. Regrets, I said. I regret taking so long to admit what was true. Kindness isn't a blank check. It has a limit. I'm allowed to put a cap on it. Nora handed me a plate. You did. She dried her hands and turned to me. What was the line for you? The exact moment you drew it permanent. The night with the chain, I said. Not when I paid. Not when I walked out of the bistro. The moment I called 911 without arguing about it. I didn't choose anger. I chose enforcement. She nodded. That's the difference. People like to talk about closure like it's a candle you blow out. I don't buy that. Closure is bolts tightened on a hinge. It's a file labeled and put away. It's the numbness of sameness in a good way. Same breakfast, same walk, same warm person asleep next to you who doesn't zigzag the rules because chaos is fun. I didn't win anything. I didn't prove a point to a jury. I didn't get some cinematic apology. What I got was my life back at the price of a check and a few stern sentences. Worth it. Last week, Nora texted me a photo from the grocery store of a plant she wanted. Too much, she wrote. Get two, I texted back. I'll build shelves. That's the ending. Not loud. Durable. And if you're waiting for the part where I open the door one more time because I have a soft heart and the weather is bad, wrong story. I answered the last knock I'm ever going to answer from that chapter. I answered it with 3 numbers and a boundary that didn't blink. If Sabrina ever shows up again, it won't be at my home. It won't be in my schedule. It won't be in my head. She lost access, which is the thing she wanted most. Control, comfort, an audience. She traded all of it for a final attempt to win a game that ended without her. I didn't slam the door. I closed it and locked it. Then I walked to my kitchen, turned off the light, and went to bed next to the woman who understands that respect isn't negotiated in hallways at midnight. It's set at the threshold and kept. That's not revenge. That's discipline. And it's permanent. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.